Well, rumblings within the Democratic Party now that Bernie Sanders should drop out of the race and get behind Hillary Clinton. But Sanders vows to take the race all the way to the convention. A spokesman says the campaign plans to spend the summer trying to persuade Clinton's superdelegates to flip and join them. And new Fox News polls just out showing the candidates locked in tight races in Indiana and California. Among Indiana Democrats, Clinton leading 46% to Sanders 42%. But notice that's within the poll's margin of error. So it's very close, and even closer in California. In fact, Mrs. Clinton has 48% support there, while Sanders has 46%. Again, with the margin of error, you could call it a tie. Amer Zahr is an adjunct professor of law at University of Detroit Mercy and a Bernie Sanders supporter. And Danielle McLaughlin is an author and political commentator and supports Hillary Clinton. All right. Thank you both for coming on. You know, a lot of people are trying to put pressure on Bernie Sanders. You're nodding your head while I'm saying that, you know, the Democratic fundraisers out there are hoping that he drops out to get behind Hillary. But when you look at these numbers, it's no wonder why he doesn't want to, because it is neck and neck in these two critical states of Indiana and California.
Well, Bernie's a better candidate. I mean, he polls better against all the Republican contenders than Hillary. That's going to show more as, you know, as this campaign has gone on, as people get to know Secretary Clinton a little bit more. I think we see that the real differences are becoming clear. And, you know, Bernie's supporters and Bernie's campaign is a movement. You know, to think that we should just fall in behind Secretary Clinton because, you know, we've been involved in this process would be to really misunderstand what's going on with the Bernie Sanders campaign.
Do you agree with Amer? I mean, basically, you know, he's got the money. All right. There's no question there.
Yes.
But is the money enough and reason enough to stay in it? Because if you look at the number of delegates he is behind, the chances of him getting up to the required number of delegates come the convention time, not necessarily all in his favor. I mean, California and Indiana could change that.
Right. But we have those races coming up in May and in June, and we have Northeast Super Tuesday coming up on this Tuesday, where we have 5 states where Clinton is looking like she's probably going to take all of them, maybe 5 and maybe 4. You know, no question, Bernie Sanders has the money and he has the mandate. It is a movement. I was in Long Island City on Monday, the day before the New York primary. I saw the crowds, I saw the enthusiasm, and your point is well taken. But I think if we put the New York Daily News as one example, New York Daily News interviews side by side. We see Clinton. She's a wonk. She is hugely experienced. She is certainly qualified to do this job. And I think after Northeast Super Tuesday, the Sanders camp is going to have to consider what it does. And I'm not saying that's the end of the movement, because I agree with you. There are very important things that Bernie Sanders is saying. But at some point, they're going to have to make a decision about whether they continue on or not.
Yeah, we need to also talk about the damage that's being done, because as you get closer to the convention and you've got this mudslinging with Sanders questioning her ability to run the country, and then if she gets the nomination, and I know that you don't see that happening, but if she does that mean Sanders can't really back her after saying all the things that he said about her likelihood and her experience?
Maybe whatever damage you're talking about being done is being done because she's not that great of a candidate. I mean, she's just not a strong candidate in the general election. That's what we've been saying for a long time. And what I find really funny is that a lot of Clinton supporters are telling us Sanders supporters that you guys need to get behind Secretary Clinton, because if you don't vote for her, it's like voting for Trump in November. You know, Trump has the lowest unfavorables of any presidential candidate in history, and the Clinton camp still thinks that she could lose to him. And that's why they're asking us for our support. Bernie Sanders beats Trump in every poll by like 20 points. He's the better candidate, and hopefully everyone will see that. And I think by the time we get after June 7th, that Bernie's going to have more pledged delegates than she does.
I really don't see that. I don't see that at all. And I take issue with the idea that we're only wanting the Bernie Sanders supporters so that, you know, this idea about beating Trump. I think Trump is eminently beatable. And I think in some ways what Sanders is doing with all of these attacks is very, very divisive and very, very negative. And it sounds like Trump. You know, Trump is slashing and burning and telling people to get out of the race. He's not acting in a presidential manner. And I think that it's really doing damage to the GOP. He is blowing up the GOP. And if Sanders doesn't rein it in at some point and think about what he really wants, does he want to blow up the Democratic Party, or does he want to see a Democrat in the White House?
Well, look, it's going to come down to numbers. I mean, you know, we can bicker back and forth, but I mean, if you look on the Republican side, the numbers are in favor of Donald Trump. If you look on the Democratic side right now, after New York, that was a big win for Hillary, where she took home 139 over Sanders' 108 delegates. So she now leads the overall delegate count from 1,446 to 1,202. how much is riding on Indiana and California?
Well, I mean, they're very important, but also, and I think the Sanders campaign has been saying this, it's very likely that neither candidate is going to get to the convention with a majority of the delegates with just the pledged delegates.
Yeah,
so
it is going to be. But then what happens with the superdelegates?
The
Is Bernie Sanders really going to? Is his campaign really going to influence the superdelegates to flop on Hillary at this stage of the game?
We have to try to flip the superdelegates, even though the superdelegate system is unfair. It's an incumbency protection system. That's all it's doing.
I don't disagree with you.
So we have to really convince them that we all think that is the truth, that Bernie is the better candidate. He's just better for America, better for the Democratic Party.
At this late stage in the game, though, do you really think the superdelegates are going to flip on Hillary and turn to Bernie?
No,
I think they will.
Does that seem realistic? It doesn't.
Yes, of course.
I don't know. I mean, I feel like the superdelegates are entrenched in who the candidate they believe has the best chance of winning against Donald Trump.
In
2008, superdelegates switched later than this point in the game, too. So, I mean, I think that they can.
And in 2008, the lead between Obama and Clinton it's double what it was. At this point now, she has twice as many in terms of a lead. So, I think that's what Sanders has to say. They'll flip them, but I think ultimately the math will come out.
He's a better candidate. He'll win out.
I love it. All right, Amer, Zahr, thank you very much, and Danielle, McLaughlin, thank you both.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.